Okay, so let's kick off. For any latecomers, as I said, they can just join or watch the recording later. So just to kick off, hi everyone, my name is Christian. This is the second session of the AI Week series. We already had a session this morning. There's more to follow this week. Again, more sessions just like this every single day of the week. And now for this session, I'm joined by Pratim and Das, who will be speaking about building data-driven cultures in business. So Pratim, would you like to introduce yourself, tell us a bit about yourself, and then take it away?
Thank you, Christian. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to come and talk to you. So just quick in terms of introduction. So I'm one of the directors in Microsoft in the UK for the data and AI business. Have worked with organizations such as Amazon Web Services, Dell SecureWorks, Recording Industries, consultancies before. So look, I think the reason I thought I would talk to you guys about it, because you guys are going to be the future business leaders, and how the world is moving towards a very much a data-driven world. This is key and essential. So this is not just a theory. This is a very practical thing that you can, throughout the process, I'm going to talk you through some tools and some ideas, how you can get started. Good. So shall we maybe just start? Christian, you can hear me all good? So okay, good. So let's start off by creating kind of a definition, right? A data strategy for an organization, be it a commercial or a public sector or a university, it is a manifesto to improve the use of data and insights in that organization. A data strategy helps by ensuring that data is managed and used like an asset. It provides a common set of goals and objectives guided by design principles across the enterprise, and these processes to ensure that data is used both effectively and efficiently. So look, I don't know whether some of you have seen, like, for example, the UK government in late last year published something like the UK data strategy for the government, right? Really, the pandemic has actually opened our eyes to the power of data in terms of, how do we push vaccines? How do we change a particular public policy or a strategy? All of those were data-driven. You can argue some could be different outcomes, but it was always very data-driven. So as a result, the government now has seen they have such useful information, but all in many cases they are separated in silos. But how the various parts of the government can act together using data to make those sort of decisions. So anyway, even outside the government, you can think about, essentially with data, there are four things you can do. First, you can boost the productivity for empowering individual employees, business units or departments. Take yourself as an example. So you are doing a research or writing a thesis in university. Access to the right data at the right time in the right possible way in a secure and responsible way is critical in terms of the speed at which you can do things, or how you can expand the scope of the work that you are doing as well, right? The second is, for organizations, how do they engage their end customers, right? If a government is about citizens, and how they can continue to do that or expand that. And third one is to optimize operations. Everything we do in order to run our business or do our work can always be optimized, and data is often a very good guide to see how you can do that. And finally, in terms of innovation in research and development and product development, access to right data or how your products are being used is really transformational. Right, so to wrap this slide up, so data strategy is also about a governance framework to protect against data loss and implementing data privacy and the required regulatory and compliance needs. However, there needs to be an adequate balance that facilitates data access and insights in a secure and responsible manner. Let me go to the slides first, and then we'll park some time for some questions. So how do we embark on this journey? The first one is for organizations to build a capability. And basically, culture is a key part for a successful data strategy. You need the leaders to understand the role of data and accelerate adoption in the normal day-to-day rhythm of the business, and whatever that might be, the standard operations, business decisions, growth plans, product and innovation roadmap should be all backed by data and insights. At the moment, senior leaders often use intuition, which is great, and most of the time they are right, but backing those by data amplifies and solidifies your strategy. These organization-wide adoption tackles the culture of risk aversion around data and use and the sharing of data, and promotes a data-driven culture. Let's start with data skills. Like many digital skills, data skills are increasingly important at all levels in the organization. I'll tell you what, Microsoft have crafted data and AI training and enablement for business decision makers, in addition to the standard roles like data analysts, data engineers, and data scientists. And you can see why. Once you embark on this transformation journey using a data-driven culture, you need to ensure the following to sustain the acceleration, such as quality, availability, and access to data sets on time in a secure and compliant manner, standards and assurance. It is also essential to have an ethics framework, not something that's like pages long, full of legal jargons, but something that is simple and easy to understand and easy to adopt. So where do you start, right? So for example, you either you do it in an organization level or a particular project. First step to look at the capabilities you need, and start with a blank sheet like that, and then start mapping to the capabilities you have, and that is something we call your baseline. Note, capability is agnostic of tools and products. You look at the data storage, retrieval, data ingestion, orchestration, compute, analytics requirements, including BI, AI, ML, underpinned by foundational capabilities like security and authentication, networking, governance. All of these are very important. And as a next step, for example, if Microsoft is your platform of choice, look at the native PaaS and SaaS services. That makes it like platform as a service, or software as a service solutions, and start mapping what you need to deliver. This strategy, as opposed to building from scratch on top of virtual machines in the cloud, will accelerate your transformation and help you deliver operational excellence. The next part is, as you start building that capability, you're automatically going to start into something called a maturity curve. And there are many assessment tools for data maturity. One that we often use has got like 5 levels. At level 0, data is not exploited programmatically and consistently. The data focus within the company is in the form of an application development perspective, right? So in an individual application and the data story for that, not like a full programmatic approach. On this level, we commonly see mostly siloed and ad hoc analytics projects. At level 1, here we see teams being formed, strategy has been created, but data skills are departmentalized. At this level, organizations tend to be good at traditional data capture and analytics, and some cloud adoption too. The innovation platform, which comes at level 3, is almost ready. with workflows in place to deal with data quality, and the organization is able to answer some why questions. Level 3 here, some of the characteristics of this level are like holistic approach to data and projects related to data being deeply integrated with business outcomes. We would also see predictions being done using analytics platform. At this level, organizations are unlocking digital innovation from both a data state and application development perspective. They have foundational data services like data lake and shared data services in place. Multiple teams across the company are successfully delivering on critical business workloads. Well, key business use cases really. IT suddenly becomes a trusted advisor to teams. At level 4, we see the entire company using a data-driven culture, frameworks and standards across the enterprise. We also see automation, center of excellence, being spun up on certain areas, and also analytics and automation and data-driven feedback loops. Often what we call it analytics on top of analytics platform, like what data services are being used by the organization or your end customers, which data sets are hot, as in like constantly being accessed. That sort of information is also very useful. So what eventually happens is organizations climb this maturity level that you can see from very dormant to a more of a descriptive stage, and then really trying to understand diagnostics as to what's really happening and how you can fix certain challenges, and then more like a predictive, what might happen if you do certain simulations and really trying to plan the business accordingly. And then finally prescriptive, what should happen, what you need to do. Once you climb that curve, then you build I call it the center of excellence around data and AI, where you kind of have automation automation to augment your people and team to make the right decisions in data. The next thing as you progress on this ladder is very important, is governance. And I would say take a principled approach across the entire data life cycle, from ingestion to storage, then data processing, analytics and AI, and strive the data governance across all those phases. It doesn't matter if your data spans both cloud and on-prem, but it must give you the entire map comprising data assets, classification, lineage. On Azure, we have launched a particular service called Azure Purview to make this journey seamless. The next one I would really want leaders for the future, such as yourself, to really start thinking is consider profiles such as data producers and consumers who should be supported by data discovery, augmented by business glossary and data catalog, for data engineers. So basically really looking at the people who use data in an organization, and for them really start thinking deeper. So we will, the other area is like ethics within data. And let me tell you what Microsoft's perspective is. At Microsoft, we use 4 core principles: fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, and inclusiveness, underpinned by 2 foundational principles of transparency and accountability. As we move from principles to practice, we are sharing our learnings to help you in your journey. We have put responsible AI and our principles into practice through the development of resources such as human AI interaction, conversational AI, inclusive design, AI fairness checklist, and data sheets for data sets. So what I would say is putting responsible AI into action starts with practices that are grounded in this human-centric design and spans roles. I think we have taken 20 years of research and applied it in the development of AI guidelines. I'm happy to share some of this. So take a look at this link. And it's got a lot of prescriptive tools, a lot of open source code in Python, which you love. We can implement those in your open source projects straight away and get the benefit of really looking at biases in data and how that should be considered as part of your entire governance framework. Right. The next one is an interesting one, and I think you like this. Einstein's quote on that, like, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So, look, just particularly in data, when it comes to tools across the data life cycle, right, starting from ingestion to actually consumption, we are spoiled for choices. I think this is probably what I captured over there is very relevant to Microsoft and their customers and partners. But overall, this probably captures 1/10 or maybe a quarter of all the products and tools. And every month you see a new one popping up. So Microsoft Azure provides great integration capabilities with most tools we know that are used in the world of data and AI. Organizations can easily get lost in this, right? And spend months on feature comparison, which doesn't yield any business value. So more important is to get started as opposed to like going into this never-ending learning loop where you just learn about features and stuff. It's almost like, so what? Whatever you have, you can get started pretty easily. Just like open source and partner ecosystem, there is an area of choice in the Microsoft platform as well. Even if you, what I'm trying to say is, even if you don't get 100% of the features from the get-go, it is more important to get started in delivering business value iteratively. Leave the rest to product innovation from the vendors, such as us, and the capability you yourself are going to build with each iteration. I like to say growth mindset is cultivated best when you accomplish more with less. This balance is an art. It fosters creativity and innovation. I call this think big, start small, and act fast. With all that said, simplification is key. At Microsoft, we have been innovating on behalf of our customers. We have many services, which we talked about, but what we have seen is giving customers a single pane of glass often speeds up innovation. So we actually created a new solution. In a nutshell, we have created a single integrated platform for BI, AI, and continuous intelligence, which we call it Azure Synapse Analytics. This is wrapped under 4 foundation capabilities of management, security, monitoring, and a metastore. Underpinning this is a decoupled storage layer and a data integration layer. Analytics runtimes, customers want these days like on-demand, serverless power also provision, and runtimes choice such as SQL or for interactive processing or Spark for like big data, and support for most programming languages like SQL, Python, .NET, Java, Scala. All of this made available under Synapse Analytics Studio. So you can see the power of simplification rather than saying, hey, there are a million things out there. Bringing all of those together under one umbrella really helps. The next item I want to really talk about is how do you take a principled approach, which is very key across all the tiers. So designing a modern data platform in the cloud is a convergence of security, reliability, governance, monitoring, performance, including on-demand scaling, data ops, self-service, and self-service, right? I would recommend you start adopting what we call it the well-architected framework in the future projects, or when you start working in the industry. Really look at well-architected frameworks. Microsoft has, certain other cloud vendors have as well, and I think that is very important. Understanding how these facets interplay is crucial to appreciate the nuances that distinguishes a good versus a great analytics platform. Typically, we see organizations either use a very centralized platform, a traditional monolith that is operated centrally, or a core service provider model, and some flexibility to bolt on domain specific customization. On the other extreme, which is like Wild West, we see everything is highly federated, giving groups complete autonomy to implement their own stack. Where we are seeing a lot of success these days is where you read up and something we call it a data mesh architecture. We are calling it harmonized mesh architecture, or enterprise scale analytics, which leverages common policies and templates that ensures baseline security and compatibility, but also enables like domain specialization. By that, what I mean, if you look at this diagram over here, this is for a large organization. Think of one of very, very big organizations. We have multiple departments. They could have a research and development, they have a marketing department, they have a HR department, they have supply chain, they have an automation. So all these departments, they have like hundreds of people, right? And how do they work, share, deal with data in a secure and responsible manner without duplicating efforts? This kind of architecture solves those. So each node in this diagram, for example, is a department, right? And as you can see, they have their core flexibility in terms of tools and programs they use, but also there's a centralized, non-negotiable, how, for example, data privacy is managed and maintained. So they will have to adopt some of those, or all of the non-negotiable, but they will also have some independence, what we call it flexibility at the edge, to be able to do the way they want to do certain things. So we'll try and wrap up so we can have so look, this is a slide for you to take a look. Working with thousands of customers across different industries of varying complexity, we can now pick the optimal patterns and tailor these transformation plans to accelerate time to value. Retail, namely retail, financial services, manufacturing, education, healthcare, public sector. We have the kind of industry knowledge and the deep domain expertise to help customers build a resilient data strategy and culture. Good. Look, I think, those are the key points I wanted to get across, and just, leave a little bit at the end. Maybe we've got 7 minutes. Is that right, Christian?
Yeah, can you hear me okay? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. So we may have to skip the Q&A section. Okay. I'm amazed that everything is running smoothly, but I sort of lost control of Zoom on my side. So I think we have to wrap up the session to an end because I lost the controls. That's the technology for you, unfortunately. I'm amazed that it's still going. I'm amazed that we had to go through the content. That's absolutely perfect. I was scared it would crash. I was low-key sitting here. Yeah, hoping that things won't crash. Can you still hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, because everything keeps on freezing for me. So we might have to skip through the Q&A section. If anyone watching this wants to pop any questions through, pop them through to startups@essex.ac.uk, and then we can forward them to Pratim, and we can, if Pratim is open to, we can put you in touch as well. But this is where we draw the session to a close. Do apologize, it's the technology, it's on technologies this time. But yeah, still good that we covered the content. So yeah.
Thank you all. All the best.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye.